For the last 5 years, we've been tracking global activity of retailers. We start with a sample of more than 300 of the most important brands important in their domestic market across more than 70 countries. What we really want to understand is, how's globalization affecting retail? Which countries and cities import the greatest number? Which are the most important hotspots for the future of retailing? We want to also understand, how does the pipeline and development of new shopping centre space attract and impact on retailer thoughts and progress? You can't ignore e-commerce and multi-channel, and so this year we've given particular attention to see how the two work together. Do they complement or do they compete? It perhaps surprises people that in difficult times, and in a year which is going to remain still quite cautious, that there's more activity today than there's ever been. And in 2011, more activity still. The emerging markets are seeing perhaps the greatest amount of new activity. So markets like China, India and Russia, Vietnam are seeing the greatest amount of new brands entering those markets. Perhaps it surprises people that Dubai is the second most important international market behind London. Our survey in 2011 shows that US retailers are the most global. Their coverage of Asia, Europe and the Americas is more than from any other region. So what's driving that? Well, certainly the US economy has been subdued in recent years. So retailers know that if they're going to drive revenue and profitability, it's going to be from new markets beyond the domestic. Brands like Apple and Hollister have been particularly successful, and we've seen Forever 21 enter new European markets in the last 6 to 12 months. Victoria's Secret will open in London in July. Williams-Sonoma and J. Crew have announced their arrival in 2013. But equally, whilst Europe has been challenged, whilst people remain concerned about the euro, it still remains an important market for international expansion. Half of the retailers have entered a new European market in the last 12 months. CBRE has been following closely the development of multi-channel and e-commerce. We really need to understand how the development of the transactional website is going to impact the physical presence. Our research from last year, Europe's online consumer, demonstrated a strong complementary force between both the transactional presence and the physical. The majority of consumers will research online but also go into a store before they buy. It's interesting that our research for How Global in 2011 reinforces that. Surprisingly, only a quarter of the retailers that we review actually have a transactional website, but half of those retailers that have the physical presence also support that with an e-commerce strategy, demonstrating quite clearly that consumers want to see and enjoy the benefits of both the online but also the physical experience. Well, for sure, the economy remains in a cautious mode. Retailers are thinking carefully about their capital expenditure and new markets. But that said, the financial crisis of a few years ago demonstrated that you need to take risks, but many brands have really experienced a degree of maturity and cannibalization in their existing markets, and that's what's really driven the international expansion. So over the next 12 months, we don't really see the pace letting up. Indeed, we see it running at constant, if not improved levels. And if you then look at the level of development and pipeline, you say there's good opportunity for retailers who wish to move into new markets.